picture this. You're looking out a window into a dark street right at twilight.
Setting the scene.
Exactly. The shadows are getting long, the night is black, and down below, an absolute trap is about to snap shut.
Yeah, it's intense.
There's this seductive pitch, a momentary lapse in judgment, and a decision that changes a life forever. It honestly sounds like the opening scene of a psychological thriller.
Oh, absolutely.
But we are actually talking about an ancient text today. Welcome to our deep dive. Our mission for this one is unpacking a really short, incredibly powerful narrative written by King Solomon. It's found in Proverbs chapter 7.
And it really does read like a thriller. I mean, right from the jump. This isn't just some abstract, dusty lecture on morality.
Right.
Solomon is giving us this step-by-step psychological breakdown of how human vulnerability actually works. He's dissecting exactly how temptation operates.
Showing us the mechanics of a trap from the inside out.
Exactly. By focusing on that core tension we all face, the tension between short-term pleasure and long-term consequences.
So the roadmap for this deep dive is going to take us straight through that dark street. First, we'll summarize this dramatic biblical story, looking at the exact historical and really the psychological tactics used in the text.
The tactics are fascinating.
They really are. And then we're going to spend a focused portion of our time applying this ancient wisdom to your modern life. Specifically, we'll explore how understanding the anatomy of this trap can actually, strengthen your trust in your relationship with God.
Which is huge, because going from a story about an ancient street corner to the actual decisions you make in your everyday life, well, that requires understanding the underlying human behavior.
Which hasn't changed.
No, honestly, it hasn't changed in thousands of years. We are wired the exact same way.
Okay, so to set the stage, Solomon doesn't actually start with the story itself. He starts with this urgent plea to the reader, to you. He says to keep God's law as the apple of thine eye, to bind them upon thy fingers, and to write them upon the table of thine heart.
Yeah, he's laying the groundwork.
Right. He is essentially saying, don't just casually listen to these rules, but then he uses this really fascinating family metaphor. He says to call wisdom thy sister, and understanding thy kinswoman.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he framing a set of laws as a family member? That feels so specific.
It is specific. That is a deliberate choice of words to highlight the psychology of internalized values. Because think about it, a list of rules is external.
Yeah, just words on a page.
Yeah, and you can easily rationalize breaking a rule when no one is looking. But a sister or a close relative, that implies an intimate, fiercely protective relationship.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
He's emphasizing that wisdom has to be a core part of your character. It can't just be a checklist you consult when you're in trouble. You have to actually have a relationship with wisdom.
Because
without those deeply ingrained internal values, you are entirely defenseless against the psychological manipulation that happens next in the story.
Which brings us to the scene at the window. The storyteller is looking through a window casement, right at that twilight hour, fading into a black and dark night. And he spots a young man.
The target.
The target, yeah. The text describes him as void of understanding, meaning he's lacking judgment or discernment. But what really stands out to me is what this young man is actually doing. He's wandering through the street, passing near a very specific corner, heading the way to her house.
And that right there is his first fatal error.
It is.
Oh, yeah. The young man's mistake doesn't start when he is face-to-face with temptation. His downfall begins much earlier. He's placing himself in a risky environment before the temptation even actively begins.
Just by being on that street.
Exactly. He is wandering near the danger zone in the dark. From a behavioral standpoint, he hasn't guarded his environment at all. He is relying on willpower in a situation where he has already surrendered his geographical advantage.
Wow. And because he is in that environment, he meets the antagonist of our story. A woman approaches him. The text says she has the attire of a harlot and is subtle of heart.
She knows exactly what she's doing.
Completely. She is loud, she is stubborn, and she acts as a predator in this scenario.
Yeah.
She doesn't just stay in her house. She lies in wait at every corner. She catches him, she kisses him, and with what the text calls an impudent face, she begins her pitch.
And her pitch is an absolute masterclass in manipulation.
Let's break that down.
Yeah, if we look at the specific tactics she uses, the very first thing she does is offer a religious justification. She tells him, I have peace offerings with me. This day have I paid my vows.
See, that feels so contradictory to me.
Right.
She is setting up a trap for a massive moral failure, but she leads with her religious resume. It's wild.
It's brilliant, sinister manipulation. To understand why this works, you have to look at the historical context of what a peace offering actually was in ancient Israel.
Okay.
A peace offering was a sacrifice where you gave a portion to God, the priest got a portion, and you took the rest of the meat home to eat. But here's the catch. Religious law dictated that the meat had to be eaten within a day or two.
Wait, really? So it literally meant she had a house full of premium, freshly sacrificed meat that was going to go bad if she didn't host a feast immediately.
Precisely. She is essentially saying, I have a fridge full of prime rib from a religious festival. Come over and celebrate.
That is so clever.
It is. She uses religion to lower his defenses. It frames the invitation not as some shady, illicit affair, but as a celebration of her piety. It creates this false sense of spiritual safety, making it seem like the situation is somehow blessed or at least morally neutral just because she has paid her vows.
Unbelievable. And after she drops that religious loophole, she pivots immediately to sensory appeal. She tells him her bed is decked with coverings of tapestry, with carved works, and fine linen of Egypt.
And the spices.
Right, she's perfumed it with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon.
Notice how she targets every single sense. Visuals, touch, smell. And Egypt, by the way, was the absolute peak of luxury in the ancient world.
So this is the ancient equivalent of bragging about 1,000 thread count sheets in a 5-star hotel suite.
It really is. She's overwhelming his senses to bypass his logical processing. It's not just about physical temptation. It is about luxury, comfort, and an escape from the mundane reality of that dark street.
Just totally overloading the brain.
Exactly. When the brain is flooded with that level of sensory anticipation, the dopamine system hyper-focuses on the immediate reward. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for assessing long-term risk, gets completely suppressed.
Which perfectly sets up her final tactic, which is false security. She has to convince his suppressed logical brain that there are zero consequences.
A final nail in the coffin.
Yep. She assures him, come, let us take our fill of love until the morning. And she explicitly explains why it is safe. She says the good man, her husband, is not at home. He has gone on a long journey. He took a bag of money with him, and he won't be back until the appointed day.
The detail about the bag of money is so crucial here.
Why is that?
Because why mention the money? In an era before digital banking or quick travel, taking a large bag of money meant you were going on a major, time-consuming business expedition.
Oh, so it's proof he won't just pop back in.
Exactly. It signals distance and time. It is a perfectly constructed illusion of safety. She minimizes the risk entirely, promising intense, immediate pleasure with absolutely zero chance of getting caught.
And the tragic part is that it works completely. The text says that with her much fair speech, she caused him to yield, and with the flattering of her lips, she forced him. He follows her straightway.
Straightway is the heartbreaking word there. There is no pause. There is no reflection. There is no consulting that Sister of Wisdom Solomon talked about at the very beginning. The manipulation was so effective that he just surrenders to the momentum of the pitch.
Solomon uses these incredibly vivid, striking metaphors to describe his ruin right after this. He says the young man follows her as an ox goeth to the slaughter, or as fool to the correction of the stocks.
Powerful imagery.
And then this haunting image, as a bird hasteth to the snare, and the defining tragedy of it all. The text says he knoweth not that it is for his life. He doesn't even realize he's made a fatal error until a dart strike through his liver.
Those metaphors capture the blinding nature of temptation perfectly. Think about it. An ox being led to slaughter has no idea what is happening. It just blindly follows the familiar path laid out for it.
Right, it's just walking.
And a fool going to the correction of the stocks is someone blundering into a situation of severe public shaming and punishment, completely oblivious to the humiliation awaiting them. And the bird sees the bait, but it doesn't see the snare.
The bird only sees the seed. It doesn't see the net waiting to close around it.
The defining characteristic of yielding to this kind of temptation is absolute blindness to the reality of the situation. He thinks he's walking into a night of luxury and pleasure, but he is actually walking into his own execution. The trap completely hid the long-term devastating consequences behind short-term appeal.
Which leads to the universal warning that closes out the chapter. Solomon says, "Hearken unto me now, therefore, O ye children." He warns them not to let their hearts decline to her ways, because she hasn't just ruined this one naive young man.
No, it's a systemic issue.
Right. The text says she has cast down many wounded, and, yea, many strong men have been slain by her. Her house is the way to hell, going down to the chambers of death.
If we deconstruct the anatomy of temptation based on this text, regardless of the era you live in, the mechanism is identical. Temptation disguises extreme danger with appealing, flattering words. It focuses your attention entirely on the immediate dopamine hit, and it completely hides the long-term destruction.
So let's pivot to today, to your modern life,
Right.
because we have to break down these ancient concepts into actionable modern wisdom.
Absolutely.
You probably aren't wandering through a Twilight street corner being offered Egyptian linens and peace offerings.
Probably not.
But the blueprint of this trap, it is everywhere.
Let's go back to the young man's very first mistake. He wandered near the dangerous corner at night. He put himself in the wrong environment.
Yeah, before she even spoke to him.
In modern life, people constantly fall into serious mistakes because they place themselves in risky situations, relying on their willpower instead of guarding their environment.
That makes me think about how we design our own environments today. If you know you have a problem with impulsive spending, wandering through a high-end mall when you're feeling down is walking near her corner.
Or consider the environments we create at work or in our social circles. Lingering in a corporate environment where unethical shortcuts in business are normalized is wandering near the corner.
That's a great point.
Keeping company with people who constantly disrespect your relationship boundaries or mock your core values is placing yourself in the dark street. Avoiding destructive choices almost always starts with avoiding the environments where those choices become easy to make.
And what about the tactic of flattery and manipulation? In the story, she used fair speech and flattering lips. Today, that same manipulative tactic is bombarding us. Think about the way modern advertising works.
Oh, it's the exact same pitch.
It is entirely designed to tell you that you deserve to indulge, that there are no consequences, that you should treat yourself regardless of the cost.
You also see it vividly in toxic relationships. Someone who flatters you appeals entirely to your emotions and makes you feel special, while subtly encouraging you to abandon your core moral values or isolate yourself from the people who actually care about you.
They're isolating the target.
Exactly. They are rolling out the metaphorical Egyptian linens to distract you from the red flags.
Financial scams use the exact same playbook too. They promise a massive, immediate payout, just like she promised an amazing night. And they assure you there is absolutely zero risk. It is all about recognizing when a voice, whether it's a literal person, an advertisement, or even societal pressure, is appealing to your base emotions and impulses instead of to the truth.
Which really raises the critical issue of the myth of immunity. Remember that haunting line near the end of the chapter? Many strong men have been slain by her.
We all like to think we're the exception. We think we're too smart for that trap, or that we have enough willpower to walk away at the last second.
But the text explicitly warns us that success, intelligence, and strength do not guarantee moral safety. You don't have to look far into modern news to see public scandals involving incredibly powerful, highly educated, successful leaders who threw everything away for a momentary temptation.
We see it all the time.
They had brilliant minds, but they lacked the internalized sister of wisdom. Humility and accountability are absolutely essential. The moment you think you are immune to the snare is the exact moment you are most likely to step right into it.
This brings us to the core of our deep dive today. How can all of this information, this ancient story about a dark street, manipulative tactics, and a hidden snare, actually strengthen our trust and our relationship with God?
The answer lies in deeply understanding our own limitations. When we recognize our own immense vulnerability, when we realize how easily our brains can be hijacked by sensory appeal and flattery, or how blind we can be to the snares hidden right in front of us, we realize our desperate need for God's guidance.
We are the bird.
We are the bird. We can't always see the trap.
We only see the seed. We only see the short-term pleasure.
But God sees the chambers of death at the end of the path. So when Solomon tells us at the very beginning to internalize God's commandments, to write them on the table of our hearts, we aren't just memorizing a list of arbitrary, restrictive rules meant to ruin our fun.
Right? It shifts the entire paradigm. It's not God saying, don't do this because I'm a cosmic killjoy. It is God saying, don't go down that street because I can see the cliff edge that is hidden in the dark.
Exactly. Obeying God becomes an act of profound trust. It's an acknowledgement that His vision for our long-term well-being is infinitely better, infinitely clearer than our own short-sighted impulses.
Because we only see what's right in front of us.
Right. When we say no to a temptation that looks incredibly appealing in the moment, we are actively trusting God's wisdom over our own temporary desires. We are trusting the guardrails He has placed in our lives.
So wisdom is not just a collection of historical sayings you read once and forget. It's a vital, active, protective shield. But it is a shield that requires your intentional cultivation and your humility. You have to write it on your heart before you find yourself on that dark street corner.
True wisdom is pausing when the pitch sounds too good to be true, looking past the immediate gratification and asking the crucial question, where does this path actually lead? It is about relying on his perspective rather than your own limited sight.
As we wrap up this deep dive, consider how the nature of that dark street corner has changed. Thousands of years ago, you had to physically wander out of your house at twilight to find the trap. But today, the digital age has effectively put the harlot's corner right inside our pockets, 2047.
That is a sobering thought.
It really is. The algorithm pushes the snare directly to your bedroom in the form of endless doom scrolling, targeted ads, and instant gratification at the tap of a screen. It fundamentally changes the physical boundaries Solomon talked about. The trap is no longer a place you walk to. It's an environment you carry with you. So think about the digital and physical environments you place yourself in and the voices you allow to influence you. How will you apply this information in your life?